culminating musical moment of this all-state experience, all 600 plus musicians that you see before you will join together in performing America the Beautiful. Conducting the finale from the center podium will be outgoing board member Mark New, Orchestra Division President.
So we had the honor of taking 5 students to All-State this year, 2 of whom are with us tonight. Jonah Velasquez, Charlotte Garcia, who were both in that recording in the orchestra, playing cello and bassoon, respectively, which was really awesome. You couldn't even see all the kids. There was a band over here, too, that was another 100 or, I don't know how many, 200? Yeah, so many kids in the state, and that was one of 2 concerts of high schoolers. We also brought with us Noah Parker, who was in the honors choir, and 2 middle schoolers, Ella Balzer and Hope Mercer, who were in the inaugural junior high chorus, which was a really awesome time. So we just wanted to say thank you for supporting our students and give them a chance to say what they saw while they were there. So.
I thought it was a really cool experience being able to spend time with a lot of really talented people and meeting some really cool people who are like conductors. All of the like adults, like all the conductors were from like some of the top universities. They were teachers. The conductor of the orchestra that we were part of is from, I think it was
Cuba.
Cuba, was from Cuba, and he had a master's in neuroscience on top of being a professional conductor.
And it was a really good opportunity for me, since I want to pursue music education, to ask questions at the college fair and kind of get some insight about where I could go.
Yeah. And as a bassoonist, she was kind of already being recruited by colleges, which was really cool. You don't hear that a lot in music, but yeah, super special. People like trying to put money on the table for her already. She hasn't even auditioned for them, which is really, really amazing.
I'm going to talk a little bit about the middle school. This is, like Mr. Avis-Ross said, this was the inaugural middle school performance. They have never had middle schoolers that have had the ability to go to state And so this was their first year, and they said, we're gonna try it just with choir. They had over 10,000 students audition, and they took 150 of those kids. And I had 2 of my 8th grade girls that qualified and came up, and it was a really good experience for them. It was kind of like a mini experience. These 2 had 3 days of rehearsals, whereas the middle schoolers came up on Friday and had about a 6-hour rehearsal on Friday, and then about a 4 or 5 hour rehearsal on Saturday, and then performed. And so all of these kids did a lot of legwork ahead of the performance, so they knew their parts and then could focus on the musicality of what they were doing. So that was a really cool experience. And for the middle school level, getting to have that, first I will say that it was mainly students, probably Springfield, Peoria North. So there were not a lot of people in the South that qualified for that, and so we were really excited for our students that did. But I think it also gets them excited having 2 8th graders prepared for high school, and then not as scared to try out for these big things like District Festival and All-State, because they've already then kind of had a mini introduction to it and had that experience. So that was a great experience for them, and we were really thankful that we were allowed to take middle schoolers this year.
Well, we're glad that you were willing, and we hope that
Absolutely.
you continue to
Yes.
expand these
Programs for our students. Thank you.
Thanks. Can I ask, how was the interview? How was the audition process?
So all of them audition. We have to send in video auditions. They have specific music that they're given ahead of time, and they have to work on their own and with their teacher, but it's a lot higher level than what most schools can do, because we're looking for the top musicians in the whole state. So they work on that. They submit an audition on a couple pieces, or their scales and their etudes, and then other teachers in other districts. So like, we can't judge in our own district. So other teachers are listening to them and seeing how they do, and then we get notified about a month later whether they are in our district festival. If they make the district festival, that's considered like the best in Southern Illinois, because our district is pretty big. It's about Alton down to the rest of the state. And then out of those auditions, I know it is different for band and orchestra versus choir, but they keep those same auditions, and then they take just that, they narrow the percentage of how many they take for all state, and then that very top of each district gets to go to state.
Yeah, band and orchestra will re-audition once they've found out that they make it to state for which ensemble are they in, honors or all state, and what chair they, like what seat they would take. So it's a lot of work, and they're amazing. Also, we don't have an orchestra program here, so everything that Jonah has done has been mostly his private teachers working on him with cello, and then me helping him prepare just the music aspect of it. And Charlotte plays bassoon in band, but it's different playing it with an orchestra too. So it's a really awesome experience they get to have.
Yeah. Phenomenal. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
All right.
Well done. That was a treat. Thank you. All right. Moving on. Do we have any public comments? Big old crowd. No one wants to say anything. All right. You got to listen to me then. So sorry about that. All right. Correspondence going around. I think we'll go right on and start into our consent agenda, Mr. Grody, or Dr. Grody. Sorry.
You've got your minutes and finances, your all the reports and expenditures. We had Deborah Heine, retirement of 1/31/2025, and we are then hiring Caitlin Bromberger as a student service secretary, Kathleen Ostertag as the cook, and Emma Zika as a paraprofessional. We also have a leave of absence. Our CHS librarian is going to be having a child, and so we're giving her the leave. And then we've got an extracurricular position. Arian Henke, I believe I say that correctly, is a volunteer softball coach. Given all of those, I would recommend the board approve as presented.
All right. Any comments, questions, concerns from the board? Hearing none, would anybody like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Tyson. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Kelly. Roll call, please.
Noreen,
Yes.
Adam Hemken,
Yes.
Andrea Corey,
Yes.
Kelly Moyer,
Yes.
Greg Meyer,
Yes.
Lisa Schumacher,
Yes.
and Tyson Search.
Yes.
Takes care of that. Well, moving on to our communications reports and presentations. Enrollment report is in your packet. And we will start with a building report. I see Mr. Dugan joined us this evening.
And his crew.
Yeah, my crew.
And your posse.
Yeah. So last Friday, Valentine's Day, we had our first. We're gonna make it an annual thing after our first experience. Parkview's Valentine's Day fine dining lunch. We just wanted to do. We always like to do different things in the lunchroom just to kind of spice it up and make it interesting. So we kind of talked to the students about table etiquette and manners, and wanted to give them a fine dining experience. So we had elegant music from our CHS Jazz Band members, Gabriel James, Benjamin Parker, and Charles Bass. Thanks to Mr. Avis Rouse there for setting that up. So they did a fantastic job. We had, the lights were dimmed. We had tables covered with white tablecloths, tea lights, centerpieces from Meg Clevorn from Makers on Main. She donated those. Miss Robin ordered fancy aprons and for our wonderful servers, and chef hats for ladies in the kitchen. The top left, you see, we're all decked out there. The students were served their entrees, which was Bosco sticks, fancy, and desserts at their table. So that was kind of fun for them to get served. Also desserts, compliments of Teresa Fundus. They got their desserts served to them. The students dressed up for the occasion. We had dresses, we had ties and suits, we had all kinds of things. They were really excited about that. It was very special for me because I did not know what to expect. I wanted to make it special, but just wasn't really sure. I mean, we have a blue gymnasium that we were trying to make fancy, so and it was really neat to see the kids' faces and to hear the comments. We had kids saying, "Can we do this again?" I had fourth graders, unfortunately, saying, "How come we didn't do this last year?" And then just kids that I wouldn't have expected come up to me and say, "Thanks for doing this." So it was just neat to have an experience like that with the kids.
Excellent.
So,
Go to the next one.
click it.
Yeah.
Exciting.
So a few weeks ago, the Parkview staff had a underground staff spirit week. So teachers knew what we were doing each day. It was a secret from the kids. So that was fun to see them start to catch on. Like first day was just we all wore black, which isn't that uncommon to see your teacher dressed in black until you see them all together. But you know, the day that we each wore mismatched shoes, they were kind of like, what's happening here? What's wrong with all of you? So that was a lot of fun. It was fun for staff, but it was really fun to see the kids' reaction and how they started guessing, like, oh, I know what today is. You dressed like your favorite holiday. I sure did.
It was funny the following week they were asking, "So what are you guys doing
What was
today?"
So that was fun. And then, of course, we just had our Young Authors contest, and these authors all here tonight are going to share a little bit about their books. 101 students participated in the Young Authors contest this year. The top 4 books from each grade level were selected to attend the Young Authors Conference that's coming up in March. Mr. Dugan read the winning books to classes during lunch period, and we are very proud of all of the students that participated and wanted to give each of these kiddos an opportunity to share just a little bit about their books here tonight. So we'll scoot out of the way here.
Miles, you sit right there.
Hi, my name is Miles, and I made a book about a ceramic dog that comes to life and comes once every Valentine's Day and sprays love powder on family members so they're nice and loving on Valentine's Day.
My name is Macy, and I wrote a
about a corgi staying the summer with grandma and becoming friends with their dog. My name is Effie, and I wrote a book about a dog named Billy and her neighborhood dog friends and how they stop their owners from being controlled by villains, so they'll buy cats and forget about their dogs.
I'm Carlo, and I wrote a book about a cow who escaped and her owner found him at Chick-fil-A. My name is Perry, and I wrote a book about Cindy and the Dragon. It inspired me because I love doing scavenger hunts.
Awesome.
My name is Eloise, and my book is about a hamster who accidentally makes a pizza come to life and tries and fixes his mistake.
And then we had one more that couldn't be here tonight. Colin Brandenberger wrote The Dillgren Competition. On Planet Ando, Denny the baker entered a big baking contest. Nate, another contestant, cheated by ruining Denny's cake and buying one instead of making his own. Denny didn't give up and baked a new cake from scratch, earning a high score. When Nate was caught cheating, he was disqualified, and Denny won, becoming a world-famous baker.
Board members are not paid for our positions, but this is so much better than I can ever tell you. So thank you very much. That's wonderful. All right. Dr. Gainey, you got to follow that.
I know. I think I might just head. They were too good.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I know, just like that. There's none. They knew I was up for my presentation.
They kind of stack
Mr. Dugan, thanks. You should have been last. All right, are we ready? We're going to start with district shout-outs. As you can tell, our district is 1 in a million, pretty amazing. I'm going to start with Eagle View. We want to shout out nurses Jacqueline Archer and Carrie Kettler. They have been excellent additions to our building. They stepped right into their new roles in January and have already done so much for our students and staff. On top of lovingly caring for our sick children, they are jumping in with health and wellness education programs for both students and staff. And I can speak to this as well. I've been meeting with the nurses every quarter to make sure we're consistent across the buildings. And Eagle View has kind of been a little disjointed with their nursing staff, and these two have really pulled it together and done some amazing things and are working really well with Mrs. Vinny. Parkview, we would like to extend a huge shout out to Lauren Nolte, the amazing head cook at Parkview. Lauren leads a dedicated team of hardworking ladies in the kitchen, and her positive attitude makes all the difference in creating a welcoming and cheerful lunch experience for our students. Her commitment to excellence and her kindness never go unnoticed. Thank you to Lauren for everything you do to ensure our students have a great meal and a great experience. You truly are a positive impact on our school community. We're lucky to have you on our team. Middle school, moving our way across, is Mrs. Amber Haven, who consistently goes above and beyond for her students. She makes science fun and engaging, and because of her, every one of her students proudly calls themselves a scientist. Mrs. Haven's dedication to learning never stops. She's always signing up for workshops, expanding her knowledge, and even sharing her expertise as a speaker. Her passion for teaching is matched only by her kindness and unwavering support for her students. Stop by and see her teach sometime. You will be amazed. CMS is beyond lucky to have her. And then we have our high school. Amanda Stanfield, she is staff member of the month. Her class is most often filled to the max, and her aromas fill the hallways, making the building extra hungry. CHS is lucky to have Mrs. Stanfield to lead our family consumer science classes. I can personally share that I sat in on a demonstration to make creme brulee, and I can also confidently say that I would never be able to execute it successfully. We are very lucky to have Mrs. Stanfield. Additionally, we have Suzanne Garlieb. She is a ticket taker and a cook. You probably have seen her at sporting events, being a ticket taker. Her smile is absolutely contagious, and she is a true asset to our high school athletics. A big shout out to Suzanne Garley. In addition to that, I don't have it in the presentation, but we are on the tail end of our winter athletics and extracurricular activities. So I did share some information with you in a handout. Of course, cheer team went first to state, super exciting. We sent one of our female bowlers up to state today. She will be competing at Rockford. That is super exciting as well. A lot of good things are happening. Now, I do have a presentation. Mr. Frisch is going to help me at this point in time. As I shared in December, we are working really hard on our college and career pathways. We want to really start opening that up, not only externally, but internally. We have, and we're going to pilot our first internal career pathway next year. With the help of Mr. Frisch, we're going to do it in construction. So the first thing I wanted to talk to you about is our course sequence for this career pathway. We want, in order to get an endorsement through the state, you have to complete year 3 and year 4. So we have one senior that will be graduating in 2027 that will achieve the endorsement. The next year, looking at our sophomore enrollment, we'll have 2 students. Again, you just need one to start the momentum. We are super excited about this, and we are going to start communicating it, and we have a lot of ideas in order to continue this sequence. I also got to go into the construction class today. Again, I can confidently say that I probably shouldn't be using that machinery, but it was a really cool experience, and some really great things are happening. And I'm really excited to be partnering with Mr. Frisch. Fresh off the press, before I let him jump in and share some information, I'm also networking with the East Peoria High School CTE director. She is going to come down at the end of March to meet with me to see where we're at with our college career pathways to help us do some of the things they're implementing. She has some really great ideas, so I'm going to also include Mr. Reeves on that because it might be some schedule adjustments, not for next year, but possibly the following year. Some really cool things on the horizon, and I'm excited. With the pathway, there are 3 certain components that you have to make it happen internally. So I am going to let Mr. Frisch and our student justice talk a little bit about the career exploration.
Okay.
If you guys can go up if you want
Sure.
to.
Okay. So, like we're talking about expanding the program, right now we pretty much do the production tech, the carpentry, going into the construction aspect. So we would like to expand on that and get the students firsthand knowledge out there on the different jobs, whether it be excavation, actual carpentry, could be cabinet making, things like that. So I've gotten in touch with Fithian Brothers, Masonry, they're out of Redbud, Walters. They have a cabinet shop down in Evansville, pretty large facility actually, and they both seem extremely excited about the concept of us supplying maybe a pipeline of potential workers for them in the future. Actually, right now, this is the golden age for anybody in the trades, whether you're getting your car worked on, house built, painted, anything in the trades. There's such a vacuum need of actual workers coming in. They've all expressed so much, or the 2 of them, and the other ones that I talked to have expressed extreme excitement for the potential for this to happen. So we did take we're going to take a field trip to both of those. The facility at the cabinet shop, he's got a large factory. We're going to take a trip there, and then in the afternoon, we're going to head out to the actual job site where the masonry work is going on, and Mr. Fithian's going to give the boys a pitch there. So that's what we've got set up tentatively for March, April, somewhere in that area. So we did take a field trip back this fall up to the Expo Center up at the Fairgrounds of Belleville, and that was a great opportunity. There were, I think, 15 or 20 unions represented there, and they had our group of 12 students for about 10 minutes to give their pitch. Again, it was almost a quasi job fair. They were pitching their union job, whether it was a carpenter, could have been a excavator worker, and they had everything from the simulators to they actually did the hands-on processes. And it was just a great experience for the boys. So, Justice, would you like to talk a little bit about that? What you thought about that? And
it let us get like a good connections into the community and helped us see what was out there for us, see what they gave us a paper that gave us how much we were going to get paid if we wanted to go into that trade, what our benefits were, how long it would take us to get to a journeyman if we wanted to do any of that stuff. It had a lot of stuff that was hands-on for us to get and to see what we wanted to do if we wanted to get our hands dirty in that type of work.
yep, it sold them. Again, my guys that come down to my end of the shop, going to college is great, but it's not for everybody. So I tell them, you can come in, leave with your diploma, go to these places, Lure Brothers, they're another one. They'll take you in, they'll train you, they'll give you what you need, and it is very, very common to make 6 figures in a very short time. These are high-paying, high-skilled, very, very, very much in demand jobs that everybody can do them, right?
Yeah.
You worked the simulators on the excavators, it was great. So again, just a wonderful opportunity. In addition to what we have there, this is what we'd like to expand into. So.
Absolutely. So the career exploration is extremely important to this pathway. Another part is team-based challenges. And this is actually a part that deters districts from doing these pathways because it's kind of cumbersome. But what's so amazing is for every pathway you need 2 team-based challenges, and Mr. Frisch is already doing one. So really it's just looking at what you're already offering and then putting it together as this pathway. So just briefly, if you would talk about the bidding process, which is such an amazing process for our students to experience with what you're trying to get off the ground for your Eagle solutions.
Oh yeah, back in the fall, September, October, part of the curriculum going into this year, I led the construction class. We actually went out and we bid a job for some ladies down at Dupo. And it was an 8x8 garden shed, typical garden shed. And so we made our crew up, went out, figured out what they wanted, what the customer wanted. We bidded the job to them, presented it to them. They gave us the okay and put the materials up. We built it modular in our shop, took it apart, then went out on site for what, 2 days?
Like 3 or 2 days.
Yeah, 2 days. We put it back together, assembled it, roofed it, good to go. So the whole process was bidding the job, designing it, building it, producing it, tearing it down, transporting it, reassembling. And I just want to say that was a large undertaking, but it was incredible the feedback we got from the neighbors that they came in, and I heard from different ones. They were amazed that these guys went out and did what they did in a short amount of time. They're like, you guys do that all the time, but that's what you do in the real world. And they got a real taste of it. They did the work. They called in for the quotes for the bids. It's, again, real life. So we did it without even knowing we were going to be doing it.
You were doing it, exactly. That's what's so amazing. And then the last big piece, and Mr. Frisch has been amazing in getting us some connections. We have to give them intern opportunities. Where are some of those companies that will take and give them on-site experience? And we have 2, definitely, and I know there's more, but we're just building this pathway. But go ahead and speak a little bit on the internship opportunities you have.
Walter's Cabinet, for example, my curriculum right now, I concentrate on teaching cabinet making. I go back to the basics on it, and you may or may have not seen some of the stuff we built first semester leading up to this semester. But Walters, when I called Glenn Walters and talked to him, that man was like, you got to be kidding me. You're really going to do this? You're going to supply me with people that have this knowledge, this work? I'm like, yeah, I can give you, this is what we're teaching. He's extremely excited about it, and he's very excited on the concept of having an intern, and it would be the full thing through. And yeah, again, I go back to these industries or these companies, everything in the trades, they are needing badly the amount of people to come in, just the shortage of workers. And if we give them that, that's amazing. And that's a local company too. So I think it's about 30 minutes away in regards to the actual factory. So we'll get to go take a field trip there, make our pitch or listen to what he's got, demonstrate it. It's pretty high tech too. It's a good opportunity. So that's the one I got lined up, and like I said, I've talked to no less than 6 or 7 opportunities that we could probably get into. So
Absolutely. And this is our first pathway. I'm already setting the stage for hopefully our second pathway. That's going to be ag. So I'm going to be meeting with Mr. Birch and Mrs. Gruen to hopefully get that set up for our second pathway. We have to start somewhere. And again, I'm all about student opportunities, and I feel like these are opportunities that definitely can benefit our district and the students. Thank you very much.
Can I ask you a question on your cabinet?
Oh.
Are you doing it all by hand or CNC?
Oh, no, this is all hand. We go back to like carpentry, for example. I've got 3 carpentry classes. They do total joinery. It's all by hand, no CNC work. They understand the aspects of hardwood, plywood, veneers. They do it all by hand. If Walters, he does have CNC, so they will get practical experience. I go back to, they want students understanding the basics. And then they'll train you. Lure Brothers has told me this, Fithians, everybody. They'll train you what they need you to go into. And Boeing's, when I worked at Boeing, they were very much similar. They want you to understand the concept of what you're doing. When I have these guys work, we make it all by hand. We get the actual sheets of plywood and we produce kitchen cabinet sets, probably 4 sets of kitchen cabinet sets already from that. And we can make the countertops. If you want laminated countertops, slate, marble, those types of things are big now. But yeah, I teach them the basics so they understand what they're making.
Would it help to have a CNC machine to teach?
Well, yes, but you have to understand the size constraints too, where we're in there. Mr. Reeves has been great. When I came in 3 years ago, he said, "What do you need to make this work?" And I gave him a list of a couple machines, and we got them, and we use them. We make raised panel doors. We make everything.
I've seen some of your work. It's amazing.
And that's what I want them. I want them to understand what they're making, why they're making it, how to make it. And CNC would be good, but for what I'm teaching them, I want them to know the basics, to know what they're doing. But yeah.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you both.
Yep.
The next thing I wanted to mention is AI. I'm not sure if you guys have heard about AI, but it is definitely on the horizon. We've started preliminary discussions as an admin team to start talking about implementation for both students and staff. I found this statistic pretty interesting. In 2023, only 13% of teens were using PT, I always mix up that acronym, for their homework, and then to 2024 it jumped up to 26%. So it's definitely a need, and I feel like we can avoid it, but I would rather look at it head on, so we are utilizing the tools to the best of our ability and we're using them smart. I am scheduling professional development through our ROE for our middle school and high school staff on our half days, both the 21st and the 28th. Any questions on AI? Curriculum updates, social studies. I'm still planning on bringing you a recommendation for curriculum in April. We're setting the stage for an ELA curriculum adoption process. This will be a little bit longer than social studies. There are more programs to review, and I want to make sure that we have admin and teacher input and all of the things, possibly doing a pilot in 2025 to 2026 to then officially roll out the following year. ACT, I'm still so proud of our ACT after school program. I did want to share the attendance. 60 were enrolled. On the first day we had 49, then the second day we had 49. I'm still very happy with that because I feel like we've had a lot of sickness going around and we are still touching impacting a big group of students. What the teachers that are leading the program say, great data being generated with the New Horizons program for the classroom and after school program use. I hope we set the bar extra high in Columbia. I want our ACT scores to skyrocket and really show Illinois how it's done. I've also started meeting with student focus groups. This has been actually the highlight of some of my work this past month. I met with 4th graders, and then I met with 5th through 8th grade at the middle school, and then I did a high school group, the executive members of the student council. And I asked them 3 questions. How do you learn best? How do you like to be assessed? And what does a quality school look like? And I will tell you, every single age group gave me different answers. But there was one consistency with the second question, how do you like to be assessed? They said paper, pencil. And I thought that that was so unique because we have AI, right? We have turned to such a technology-driven generation. So really good conversations. I shared with the students that their voices should be heard in addition to all of the other voices of the school. They are bringing good information as well. So, last thing, don't forget the 5 Essentials survey. I did send out information about that on Tuesday. When you see the link, we would love to have your feedback. Your voices matter. This is a piece of data for all of our school improvement plans, so it is really important if you wouldn't mind participating. Any questions? That's all I have.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, on to our superintendent report.
Yeah, and as you said to Dr. Gainey that she had a hard show to follow.
I wasn't going to say it again.
I want to, I just want to say that I came into this meeting really just not even knowing what I was going to say. Like for the superintendent's report, usually I've got our stuff, the PTA, they raised over $35,000 with their fundraiser this last month, and you keep getting moved by what's going on in this district of the wonderful things that our community can do. I mean, when you have a principal who decides to have the crazy idea of we're going to serve a fancy meal to our kids for Valentine's Day, and everybody gets behind it and goes running. When you've got teachers that know a kid's taking lessons on the cello and says, I'm going to get them in the All-State. And the fellow teachers say, yeah, well, I've got talented kids too. Let's get a team going, We've got jobs going on. And when he says anybody can do that stuff, they can't. I took shop, sir. And I can do a lot of things, but when you pull the tail and the light doesn't go on, it's just, we are, basically what I've been doing is I've been planning for next year, and what I'm just honestly going to tell you is when you get the right people in the right places, I'm just trying to keep up with everybody around me. So it's good. It's good. And we will have an executive session for personnel, but no action afterwards.
Perfect.
Beautiful.
Nice. Well done. All right, we'll move on to our items for action. The first one is the approval of the student trip to Europe opportunity. You're on.
Good evening. My name is Rob Post. I've been teaching for 32 years and 3 of them at the high school. I'm pretty passionate about international travel, and I think we have 2 great trips already through the high school, one with the Spanish group and one with the German students. But I'd like to open up a trip to students that aren't maybe interested in languages, just to have that experiential travel in Europe. My personal passion for this started when I was in high school. I was lucky enough to take 2 trips. I went to the Soviet Union when it was still communist controlled, because I am that old. And I was also able to go to Europe as well. My personal children were able to take a trip in high school. And then my daughter actually became a French teacher, and partly because of that trip, the experience that she had on that. The last 2 years, she has asked me to chaperone with her on her school trips. We took a group of students in 23 to France, and a trip last year. She was planning to do a trip every 3 years or so, and the kids were so excited about it that they said, can we go again, can we go again? So she didn't want to do the same trip. So last year we went to French-speaking Canada. Some of the same kids went, and a bunch of new kids joined us as well on those 2 trips. So really what I'm here to do is to ask for your permission, basically to use the facilities and to give students information. But it's not a school-sponsored trip, but it is an international trip for our students in the district. Some of the reasons for that is an expanded worldview, personal growth, and life skills. This trip is more experiential in nature. It is not intended to be for an academic subject area. I teach English. One of the parts of the trip that I'm proposing is to the Globe Theatre. They have it reconstructed in London. We do some Shakespeare study, and I think it really would be neat for the kids to see what that looks like there. Another thing that I do, I teach all sophomores, and we read the novel Night by Elie Wiesel, and it's his experience during the Holocaust. There is, outside of Munich, a concentration camp, Dachau. The kids can understand what that's like when we read the novel, and we do a lot of background information about that. But until they stand in that hallowed place and they can feel what that's like, they really don't have a grasp of it. And I've been able to experience that personally, what that attitude change is when you actually see a place like that in person. So it also increases confidence and competence in students. There's some independence on that trip. They're not with their parents. They're not with a family group. They learn interaction overseas. This is not just to another state. It's actually to another country. For some students, it's the first time they've used a passport. The first time for some of the students that I've taken in the past that they've actually boarded an airplane. So it really is a pretty neat experience. There are basically two tour companies that provide these trips. One is called EF Tours, the other is World Strides. I've been in contact with both of those companies. Explorica by World Strides has been around for 55 years. Their trips are a little bit less expensive, at least to the places that I'm proposing that we go. They offer $50 million liability insurance that covers the chaperones, the trip company, etc. And Dr. Gainey will speak a little bit more to liability in terms of the school's liability or the district's liability to a trip like this. What is covered in the price of that is basically everything from the beginning of the trip to the end, with the exception of lunches. Students purchase their own lunch when we're out, and one of the reasons is that some of the places that we go, they have the opportunities to sample all kinds of different cultural foods while we're there. And so I want to give those students that opportunity to kind of pick and choose what they want. So lunches are not covered, but every evening they provide a meal that is cultural in nature. So they'll eat Mediterranean, they'll eat German different sausages and things when they're in Munich, and so it really is a neat experience that way as well. Some of the other things, the guidelines for this trip, if I were to put it on, would certainly be no family members. That changes the whole tenor of the trip itself, and I think an important part of this is that independence of going. And that would include teacher chaperones who have children in the building as well. So I think it's really important that the kids do not have their parents on that trip with them. You can take any size trip that you'd like. Through World Strides or Explorica by World Strides, it's a 5-to-1 chaperone-student ratio. So I would not want to take fewer than 10 students on the trip, because I think you always should have 2 adults that are there, just in case something comes up. An example of that, on the last trip to Europe, we had a student that got sick and needed to stay at the hotel that day. She was ill, so one of the chaperones was able to stay there, while I took the rest of the group to our scheduled tours for that day. Also, and especially as we start something like this, I would not want to take more than 20. It's just the logistics of that get really cumbersome with more than 20 students, and 20 is very manageable, and it gives students enough room away from each other and other choices of students, but not too many. Let's see, so Dr. Gainey and I have been talking about this presentation together and some of the things that we want to put policies into place so that if you approve something like this, it's a success going forward. And some of those things would include basically a character reference for students. It's not academic in nature, so it's not limited to students taking certain classes or certain GPAs, but it is limited to students of character. We are taking them internationally, and so we want students that have that character. So we think some things in place for that would be no in-school or out-of-school suspensions during their time at the high school, no excessive absences or tardies, and then we would send a teacher survey for those students that are interested in attending to teachers, that we can get some feedback on character for those students. But once again, class enrollment and academic success are not factors. The idea, if this trip, if we go forward on this trip, is that I would first have a meeting for students only at school during school time, during our homeroom time, just to lay out what the parameters of the trip look like, to see if there is even interest for students. If there is, then I will have an after-school meeting with parents. I do want that to be in person. I do want contact face-to-face with parents. They can get to know me and understand, you know, how I'm going to run things on the trip. And then give them some time to digest that, and then they will sign something that says, yes, that we're interested, and once I have that back, I will send that out to the teachers and ask for their help doing a character reference for those students, and then student selections will be made from that. If all the students that have met that character standard and have expressed an interest in going, if there's between 10 and 20, that's very easy. If it's over 20, then we would go in the order that those were submitted, so that interest was submitted. It would be open to students that are currently juniors, sophomores, and freshmen. There's a big advantage for me in that because I've taught all of the sophomores with the exception of about 12 each year. And so I know all the students personally, or most of the students personally, and I have been here now 3 years, so I will know all the students that would be interested in taking the trip. So that's a big advantage. It also gives students, if they wanted to go and attend the trip, they know freshman year, they can start saving. This would be something we would like to do again in future years if it's successful, which I assume that it will be, so they can save money and prepare for that trip as the years go by. Probably some of this I've already covered, and so I'll just go through it real quickly.
Oh,
yeah,
sorry.
Not quite that quickly, Dr. Andy. The chaperones are covered under the Explorica liability insurance, and again, we wouldn't want any parents of students to be those chaperones. Any chaperone that goes would meet the same standards that teachers in the districts do, so background checks and fingerprint checks and so forth. It's really important that the chaperones that go have a similar view of the trip and run a tight ship, because again, we are international. And so it's not, there's a lot of stress that goes into a trip like this to make sure that everything runs off without a hitch and that students are safe, because that's the #1 priority. And so that's certainly what we would be looking for in chaperones. Sometimes these trips, they require a certain minimum and to fill buses and so forth. And so sometimes you're stuck with a group from another school or from another district or another place. So it is important that you know that's true based on group size, that is a possibility of that happening. But our group would all be together with our chaperones all the time. So. And then we would ask parents and students who attend the trip to sign a conduct agreement. And that conduct agreement, even though some of them in Europe would be legally allowed to drink alcohol, for example, the minimum age is 17, and we might have some seniors that have already reached 18 years old at that point, that is an absolute no-go, along with tobacco and drugs. And they will have signed a paper that says if you are doing those things on this trip, you will be sent home at your expense immediately, and you'll be sent home individually. So we'll place you on the plane, we'll get you to the airport, we'll put you on the airplane, and then send you home at your expense. And parents know that up front. It's extremely important. We can't have that happening when we're overseas. There is some independent student time on these trips. So the tour guide who is familiar with that culture and that has taken these trips many, many times will take us to a certain place and say, here's your parameter. In Paris, for example, there's a shopping district that also has about 50 food vendors, restaurants, and so forth, and lunchtime is 2.5 hours. And so they'll say, you have 2.5 hours, these are your parameters, you stay in this place will meet back here at this time. But we also put some safety measures in place. They have to have at least 3 people in a group. One person in that group has to have access to an international data plan or telephone so that they can reach us and we can reach them at any time in case of an emergency. They must stay in their designated area and they must return back at the correct time. It's not possible for us to be awake 24/7 on the trip, so it is absolutely essential that students after curfew remain in their room with their doors locked the entire time. There are some in the hotels. By the time we get back, the students are so tired that they don't want to stay up anyway. They want to get to bed because they're going to be getting up early the next morning. So that is one of the rules that they agree to before we go as well. The hotels that we stay in have been fully vetted by the tour company that we go to. If you've traveled to Europe, you know that their hotels are much different than our hotels here in America. The rooms are much smaller, for example. Many of them don't have air conditioning. So it's a different experience for kids when they're there. But the room sizes are between 3 and 4 students per room. But we don't know until we get there exactly how large the rooms are, how many rooms we'll have. So we have all those contingencies planned for before we go. So if we have rooms of 2, these are the students that are 3, excuse me, these are the students that will room together, rooms of 4, and so forth. Just very quickly, the proposed trip that I'm making is to London. The highlight of that trip for me is the Globe Theatre, but we'll also do the other sightseeing places in London, and that is on the first day. And then we'll make our way across the Channel to Paris and go to the Louvre, of course, and the Eiffel Tower. It does say that it's an optional tour, but actually I've spoken to the tour company because I don't want it to be optional. It's $80, and that would just be part of the price, but we will go to Versailles. It is quite the experience to be there. It's also where the treaty to end World War I was signed, among many other things. It is quite a neat experience for the students. So we would do that. Then we'll take the fastest train in Europe to Switzerland, spend the day there, and then end the trip 8 nights, 10 days, and we'll end the trip in Munich. I teach to my sophomores, I teach a novel by Elie Wiesel called Night. It's his experience in the Holocaust, and he is actually in Auschwitz, but there is a concentration camp right outside of Munich called Dachau. And the experience that students have when they stand in that place, that hallowed ground, you can just see their worldview is completely changed. It is such a neat experience for the kids and so very powerful for them. And then we fly home from Germany back home at that point. Depending on when we book, the tour price is somewhere around $5,100 for 10 days, 8 nights. It is expensive, but also well worth it, I would argue. If there is interest, this is something we would like to continue doing every 2 years. The trip would not always remain exactly the same, but still a similar experience to that. Again, not academic in nature, but experiential. And then giving students a time to plan and to save. What we'd really like to do is we have a great community here. We would really like to tap into that community to offer some scholarships to students that have financial need to go. While not in place now, it's something that we would look forward to doing in the future to give those students that opportunity to attend as well. The trip that I took to Paris the last 2 years ago, we actually had a student. It worked out great in that community. He was able to get some donations so that he was able to go on that trip, and he was so thankful for that experience. It was really, really neat. Trips are offered by a lot of different schools in our conference. Sparta, Steelville, Freeburg, Westland, and New Athens offer those trips. They're not school sponsored, but they do offer the person running those trips a place to meet and or allow fundraisers for those trips. Lebanon currently offers a school trip. It is a school trip. They are trying to change, the leader of that trip is trying to change that, so it's not school sponsored, so there's not liability for the district. But it is happening around us. I think Explorica has taken over 1 million students from America on international trips over their 55-year history. So, and that's just a tour itinerary that I think you have. And Dr. Gannon, you're going to speak to the.
Right, Mr. Post. Well, first I have to commend Mr. Post because he has taken a lot of time with me in answering all of my many questions. So this has been a work in progress, and I'm excited. It's all about student opportunities, right?
Absolutely.
And that's exactly what Mr. Post and I have been working on. What can we offer these students that deserve so much? It is not a school-sponsored trip. That was really hard for me to wrap my brain around because we have a school employee that's offering the trip. So Dr. Grody and I kind of dug into it. I had him reach out to our liability coverage carrier. We do not have to do anything through that carrier because it is offered through the company. However, there was a recommendation to go through our attorney to have all parents sign the liability waiver. That way the school is safe in that capacity. Again, the liability coverage through Explorica. Transparent communication with families. That was extremely important to Mr. Post and I. He can't be everywhere all the time. We have to have trust. We have to have some student selection process. That's why that was extremely important. And as we plan together in a clear understanding of the process, we just want this to grow. Again, kind of like what I said with CTE, it takes one for the momentum to start. Any questions for Mr. Post or myself on the possible opportunity for students to go to Europe?
So where do you get your chaperones? So you don't want family members, so normally parents are chaperones, which you don't want the family members, so.
Right, so it would be then one chaperone for every 5 students. So at max, we would have 4 chaperones. So I would be one of those chaperones. And then we really, Dr. Ngadi and I will work through that chaperone process through other teachers in our district. Who are interested in going.
I would love to do that. We have one right here.
We will have no shortage of people interested in going, but it's really
I know,
important.
I was like, when I was reading all this, I'd like to know. I also used to teach night. I taught that for years, so
Oh.
yeah, that would be amazing.
There you
And
go.
I also taught Shakespeare. That would be amazing.
I am going to be, if this goes through, the most popular teacher. No. But yeah, there will certainly be no shortage in finding chaperones who are interested in going. It's really important that the chaperones that go, though, run a tight ship.
Right.
And it's all about the student safety. And it's not, I mean, it sounds like it, but it's not about a free trip for teachers because it's way more work than than a trip that you get to take to places you've been before. It's really about giving those students that opportunity to experience those things. And so a lot of times behind the scenes, the chaperones are working on other things and making sure that a student who's not feeling well that day, that you get them a Sprite or whatever. So it's more about that.
What time of year do you plan to?
So this trip, the quote that we have right now is June. It's on the very first slide, but it goes to July 2nd. So it'd be after school is out, and it really, the price fluctuates on when you go. And I'm just trying to make the prices as low as possible to give that opportunity to as many kids.
And then non-stop flights, or did we know yet?
So we will fly for sure from here to either Chicago. We'll fly from Lambert. They don't tell you exactly. You fly one of the major carriers, but they don't tell you exactly what that flight is because they're finding the cheapest price they can. Last time that when we went to Canada, we flew through New York, but when we went overseas, we flew through Atlanta. So it would be from Lambert to one of those international hubs and then into. In fact, it tells us where we fly into, but it's not nonstop. I apologize, I left mine over.
Yeah, it flies to London.
Sorry? Oh, yeah, straight into London. To Heathrow, and then we fly out of, it tells us as well. I apologize, I didn't have that top of mind. Munich, thank you.
And then
Obviously, chaperones stay in their own rooms, kids stay in their own rooms, so there's no.
Oh, yeah, right. Adult students certainly are in different rooms, and those rooms are decided beforehand for the students. So the best option is obviously they're rooming with their friends or people that they know, which is a great thing here in Columbia because the kids all know each other, and I have to tell you, I've taught for 29 years before I came to this district, and I am just stunned by how well these kids get along with one another. And so, yeah, And we're not guaranteed to even be on the same floor with those students. It depends on that hotel. And that's why there is a certain level of trust that goes there when curfew is. We go by and check, so we'll knock on the door. So everybody goes to their room at 10 o'clock, for example. 10:30, basically is a kind of a lights out idea. So at 10:20, we walk around, knock on the door, count heads, everybody's here. You're in for the night, lock your door, and we'll see you in the morning.
Yeah, I will say I appreciate all the legwork you've done on this. I'm very familiar with these trips and can tell you, having traveled over in Europe extensively and spent time talking to I was early 20s when I did it the first time, and talking to other travel groups that were going through, because you'd see the American travel groups like this going through. So I always would talk to them and see what the experiences are and the feedback from them, and just like talking about visiting one of the concentration camps. I'm glad it's at the end.
Yes,
Kind of sets the right tone to where they have all these positive experiences and then they get a little grounded before they come home. I mean, it's real, but there's a reason you put things in certain orders, right? So I definitely appreciate all you're doing there. I will also echo the chaperones. It is not a vacation. It is a lot of work, because out of 20 kids, you're going to have, like you said, a couple that don't feel well, a couple that are homesick, some that are just nervous about everything because they don't speak your language and the food's different, and it's.
I will tell you, I'm scared of heights.
But it's awesome.
And when we went up the Eiffel Tower, I had 3 students that were scared of heights, and we all did it like this. But we all did it.
Keep you back to the wall.
Yeah. I can see this. Mr. Post, get a picture. In fact, I think the picture is at the end of the slideshow, and I was like, I can see 5 people. We're good.
I do. I love this opportunity. My mom's from Pakistan, and she took us when we were very little, overseas a lot, just by herself without my dad. And they were experiences that shaped my life and my siblings' lives. And so I do think it's important for kids to have an opportunity, at least, to get out of a bubble and to be uncomfortable in different parts of the world, and see that there's a very big world out there with a lot of different people and a lot of different cultures. And that's not it. When you do it at a younger age, it does definitely help shape that this isn't it, And so I think this is a fantastic opportunity.
And I appreciate you saying that as well, because in my experience, the kids they are out of their bubble, and they are uncomfortable in certain things. Like when we sit down to eat a meal and they're like, what is this? I've never seen any of this.
Yeah.
It's like, you have to try it. And it's amazing. And at first they're like, you have to try it. And once they do, oh, this is great.
Well, and it's funny because I think even if they feel like they hate it at the time, they come back and it still has changed and shaped them in a different way.
They talk about it and talk about it.
Yeah,
right.
yeah. So no, I think it's wonderful.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Great presentation.
Okay, well, thank you for the
Really, really great.
Thank you,
Nice
Mr.
job.
Post.
Do we have a motion to approve?
Do we have any discussion first?
I think they covered everything.
Yeah.
You sure did. Very, very thorough.
Very
Good
good,
job.
yeah.
Good job. I love the idea. I think it's fantastic. Thank you for bringing it forward. Both you and Amanda both. That's what makes our community different, and that's fantastic. So, well, hearing no discussion further, anybody like to make a motion to approve the student trip to Europe? That was quick. Thank you. Maureen
All about
makes
it.
a motion.
Love the travel.
There you go. And seconds. Let's do. I'm not sure if there's money involved, but let's do a roll call just in case.
Adam Humpkin,
Yes.
Andrea Corey,
Yes.
Kelly Moyer,
Yes.
Greg Meyer,
Yes.
Lisa Schumacher,
Yes.
Tyson Search,
Yes.
Maureen Friedrich. Yes.
Congratulations, you're going to Europe.
Well, hopefully kids are excited about it. But thank you.
And I have a feeling if you need any chaperones, come on back, and I think we'll probably be able to find 1 or 2 for you here. So. All right, next item is the approval for the 2025-2026 school calendar.
All right, this is in your packets, and we recommend that you approve it so that we can have school next year. Teacher Institute days on the 12th and the 13th of August, with the first attendance days on Thursday. This does put the snow days at past Memorial. I know that that's not a big thing, but when you've got coming back from the winter holiday on a Thursday with New Year's and whatnot, it's just some years work that way. We had a lot of snow days this year, so I'm sure we'll have none next year.
Anyone? No, not so.
That said, administration recommends you approve the calendar as presented.
Any questions, comments, concerns? Hearing none, would anybody like to make a motion to approve the school calendar?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Lisa. Second.
I'll second.
Tyson seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? It's unanimous. All right, next is C, the furniture bids for CHS project.
Yeah, and what we did was we pulled this out of the larger bid specs. And what you do is you say these are the types of furnitures we want, and then you send it out to companies, and the companies then bid on those furnitures. You go with the lowest bidder, and then you get to then do the shopping. So what we did here was we said, if we're going to buy this, what would it cost? And everybody's got to give us the price for the same item, and then we get to go through and pick out those items. All of that process said, administration recommends the board award the furniture contract for the high school addition to Circadia. There were 3 companies, Circadia, CI Select, and Facilitech, and Circadia was the low bidder.
Which Circadia is a division of Color Arts. So.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Any questions? Comments? Concerns?
So Chris, part of this package is we went through and did a inventory of existing furniture, and we're not buying everything new.
Correct.
This is what, to supplement what we're able to reuse.
Yes. Yes. I should have made that more clear. I apologize.
Well taken. All right, any other questions? Comments? All right, anybody like to make a motion to approve the bid?
I'll make the motion.
Bid. Thank you, Adam. There a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Lisa. Roll call, please.
Andrea Corey? Yes. Kelly Moyer?
Yes.
Greg Meyer?
Yes.
Lisa Schumacher?
Yes.
Tyson Search?
Yes.
Noreen Friedrich?
Yes.
Adam Hemken?
Yes.
All right, so now we're gonna buy some furniture. Now we need some signs to let people know where the furniture is.
Yes.
Where to go.
The signage went through the same process where we said we want this many signs, and whether or not we actually get those many signs, it's neither here nor there. We go with the lowest bidder. We had 3 signage companies, Summit, Craftsman, and Warren. Administration recommends the board award the sign contracts to Summit Signs, which happens to be here in
Local as well.
Local as well, yeah.
Any questions, comments, concerns regarding the sign bid? Hearing none, maybe you'd like to make a motion to approve the sign bid.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Adam. Second.
I'll second.
Thank you, Andrea. Roll call, please.
Kelly Moyer?
Yes.
Greg Meyer?
Yes.
Lisa Schumacher?
Yes.
Tyson Search? Noreen Friedrich?
Yes.
Adam Hemken?
Yes.
Andrea Corey?
Yes.
Thank you all. All right, that concludes our items for action. The next one is our discussion items. We'll start off with our facility study.
Yeah, we had a meeting today, went over how everything's going. It's going well. Logistics is always the big issue. Phase 2 bids get opened next week, Tuesday, on the 25th at the end of the day. So in March, we will have a bunch of action items, hopefully, to award bids for Phase 2 construction. Believe it or not, this year there's been 23 weather days. It's been very cold and it's been very wet and snowy, and so we've had 23 days, but we talked about it. The goal is to get into the office area in August. And so over the summer, we actually met with Kelton Davis, the ROE guy today, our ROE superintendent for our project permit, the building permit, and then we talked about getting the occupancy permit, because what's going to happen is the office area, which is in front of where the office area is now, and that hallway of classrooms, and then the auditorium, we'll get into the office and that hallway, and then those classrooms in the auditorium we might not have access to yet, but we'll have partial occupancy opening up the front of the building. When the front of the building is open, that will allow them to then take all the fencing down, those parking spaces come back to us, and they take over the back, and that's when Phase 2 actually starts. And so the awarding of the bids then goes with Phase 2 being built, but Phase 2 can't start getting built until we've got the front doors open, because our current front doors, which are in the back, need to be moved back to the front. It's all of those logistics have gone through, and we went through while they're doing that construction. What is the flow of egress for like the girls' locker room or the boys' locker room when they're changing? Should a fire alarm hit? They'll have to do what we're doing now, which is kind of exiting into the work area, but there's going to be a pathway that would allow them to go out and everything. So the Kelton Davis was happy with all of the plans. He seemed to be responsive to everything that we're doing, and I think that was pretty much it for today.
Well, and we have a Grody Bridge. I'm going to officially take this opportunity to name it the Grody Bridge.
The Grody Bridge?
Your superintendent was very diligent and figured out that an egress was being blocked by some construction, so he went and stopped work, and we constructed a bridge over troubled concrete, I guess, troubled holes, and so the students are safe, and
we have our flow of egress.
We do, yes.
This is correct.
So anyway, thank you for that. That was
bridge over troubled waters.
That's right. Troubled something. Adam, anything?
Rebar and rock.
That's right.
It wouldn't be a construction project if it wasn't frustrating at points.
I like the Grody Bridge, though. It's good. Has a ring to it.
Sure.
All right. Adam, anything you want to add?
I'll take a toll for
No,
anybody who
I'm
walks
just
past it.
excited to see the structural steel going up, and
Love it.
can't wait to see next week, hopefully when it warms up a little, and pouring more concrete so they can keep expanding to the right, as well as pouring the decking on
Very
the second
shortly,
floors.
there'll be no more need for a bridge because they're going to get that concrete. It's going to be level ground out there, and so
Yeah, hopefully next week, right?
yeah.
Yeah, as soon as it gets above 20 degrees. Something about pouring concrete when it's below 20
I believe
degrees
Mr.
is a
Frisch
problem.
brought his guys out there when they were doing concrete. Also, you brought them out for one time, and you probably should get with Donnie and bring them out there again because it is a great experience for them.
We've had several discussions involving you guys' class with the construction and
Good.
making some
Everyone's
opportunities.
very good about it, too.
So they're
Yeah.
they're very willing and very aware that we want
Great experience.
to happen.
Like a lot of construction, they'd love to hire our people too.
Get in line, right? All right, anything else? All right, move on to individual board member comments. Do you have anything today?
I have two things.
Awesome.
Real quick. With Mr. Frisch being here tonight, that kind of made me think of, before Alyssa decided to leave our district, I had started working with her to possibly have trade days, like we do college days.
Sure.
And I think it kind of got talked a little bit about some companies that would possibly maybe want to come to the high school and have a trade day. And it got announced to like the guidance counselors that they were supposed to kind of start working on something like that.
They have. I've been in
Okay, so it is
communication with
still kind of
your
still
neighbor.
moving
Yeah,
on.
with the Bodsman. Yeah, they're calling it Workforce Wednesdays, and they're running it through their homeroom.
I didn't know it was still carrying on.
It is.
Awesome, great.
Workforce
great,
Wednesdays.
Great.
Is that already started?
I don't think it's already started. The
We're thinking of doing it in March.
yeah.
We're gonna line someone up every one Wednesday out of the month. And
Awesome.
Your
have
neighbor
them.
that works at Budnick was talking. We were in
Chris Shane
communication. Yeah,
Okay.
and so yeah.
Yeah, because I had a conversation
Workforce
with
Wednesdays.
him. I had a conversation with him to see if his company would be interested.
Yeah, they went out to Waterloo. Waterloo did more of a trade show, but we're going with this Workforce Wednesday. So
And the next thing is, when you all get your journals, if we could possibly take time to read 2 articles in it, page 7 and 8, that it says it's all about the kids. And then pages 28 through 30, that says amplifying student board voices. 3 years ago was the last time that I went to the convention, and I attended a couple of the breakout sessions where schools do get students involved in becoming part of the school board meetings. So it might be like a junior or a senior. You decide how many board members you want amongst the students. And I thought maybe that's something that we could read this and maybe have a discussion item at our next meeting to, maybe we want to start introducing that.
We will.
I made a note. We'll follow up.
Okay, thank you.
Perfect. Anyone else? Board's prerogative is just a very proud night for me being here tonight. Just the talent with the teachers and the administration and the staff and everybody in this entire community coming together and really doing what's best for the kids. I mean, we are second to none, and it's a big reason because a lot of people in this room tonight. So thank you all very much for all of you do. And you know, it's great to do things when people are watching, but it's even better when no one knows. And Mr. Dugan hasn't been here for a while, but he was involved in a playground resurfacing where our was it pea gravel was not ADA compatible, and
Just was, yeah.
Rubber mulch.
yeah. So
Right
I mean,
outside the window, right?
yeah, exactly. But things like that really make our district fantastic. Thank you, Mr. Dugan, for all you do and everybody that what you guys do behind the scenes. I mean, it's nice to come here and get a little applause, but what you guys really do day in and day out that no one sees is very impressive, and I want to thank each and every one of you. So thank you. All right. We do have an executive session this evening, and it is for the purposes of appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of a specific employee of the public body or legal counsel for the public body, including hearing testimony on a complaint lodged against an employee of the public body or against the legal counsel for the public body to determine its validity pursuant to 5 ILCS 120/2C1. It's a mouthful. All right. Would anybody like to make a motion to adjourn into executive session?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Kelly. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Andrea. Kim, roll call, please.
Noreen.
Oh, Noreen, I'm sorry. You guys sound alike when I'm not looking, so.
Greg Meyer,
Yes.
Lisa Schumacher,
Yes.
Tyson Search,
Yes.
Noreen Friedrich,
Yes.
Adam Hemken,
Yes.
Andrea Corey,
Yes.
Kelly Moyer.
Yes.
Time is 8:18, so that concludes the meeting. As Mr. Grody alluded to earlier, we have no action items as a result. You're all more than welcome to come back and hear us adjourn, but we certainly understand if you don't want to, so.
right, welcome back. We are adjourned from executive session.
Back in open session. There's no items for action as a result of our executive session. The only thing left is a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, concludes our meeting. It's 9:10 p.m. Thank